Why the fuck do you need to know? Why do you need to know? Why do you need to know? I know why you need to know. Because maybe you can relate. Maybe you can fucking learn a thing or two. Well, that's why you're here, aren't you? Hey, how's it going? Hey, welcome to the fucking stream. Let's fucking go, baby. Yeah, fucking stream number 2. I didn't expect to make this happen, but it's fucking happening. We're gonna get 2 streams. We're fucking popping off. Let's go, baby. Why did I not transition? We're gonna talk to Neve. And we're gonna learn some fucking shit. Or at least we'll fucking get something out of our system. Happy fucking holidays. Let's go. I'll let Neve know. Yeah. Oh. I'm going with the dark streak. That's right, baby. Yeah. Let's get this fucking shit going. We're talking to Neve about doing a stream. I think Neve seems like an interesting person to talk to. Never happened, but we're thinking making it happen, so let's go. She just watched my video on Autogynephilia on her stream. Neve's trans, and I believe Brazilian. Watched my video on Autogynephilia. Seems to have some differing opinions, and I'm ready to fucking go. Nicole, I don't know what holiday it is. You know what holiday it is? It's stream day, baby. Stream night. And then after stream night, it's go to bed night, and then after that, it's wake up night, and then after that, it's go to work night, and then after that, it's fucking whatever the fuck else night it is, because it's always a holiday in my mind. Oh yeah. Skip work tomorrow? That'll be great. But the thing is, I already skipped work on Saturday so that I could fucking talk to Max. And he didn't even do his fucking hotline. But at least I set up this really cool fucking light effect here that I can do on command. Oh yeah. I feel like this is a really good way to damage my my vision permanently if I leave this on all stream. Let's go. I'm gonna pop up Neve's stream, see what's going on. Do. Nutcracker's public domain. So they say.
It's a story about being wanted by a man. This is how the whole romance genre works. You emotionally identify with the female protagonist, then you meet the sexy bad boy who's like a pirate or the CEO of Business Incorporated, and then the hot part is just how badly this guy
Hey,
wants
just give me one
the
sec. I gotta switch to my
protagonist.
computer, okay?
Oh, okay. In the meantime,
Now. Hey, can you hear me?
What's up? I hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. Give me one sec. I'm just pulling you up on Zoom.
Can you turn on your camera?
Yes, I have to do the thingy thing. The virtual cam. Oh, whoops. Okay, I got the wrong one on, but hold on, I'm gonna fix this.
You have to switch it to source.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. How's that?
Good.
Sweet. Okay. And then I just need to get my scene all sorted, and then I'm good. How are you doing today?
Good. I had a stream earlier, but I can do 2 fucking streams.
Hell yeah. I need to close this down. Okay. I'm ready. I've sorted it all out.
All right.
Oh, are you streaming right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
This is
I'm
Neve.
generally...
I'm RealSmeth, baby. Neve got a whiff of the methamphetamine coming off of the Smeth den. Had to fucking dive right in. So let's fucking go.
So I go by, it's actually Neve, but
Neve?
I don't mind that either. Like, yeah, I don't mind that either.
I'm very naive.
Are you?
Sometimes.
Hey, that's okay. Sometimes
Not
naive
really.
just means honest, you know?
Yeah.
It's true. It just depends on the circumstance. So, okay, we discussed talking about the topic of AGP, specifically like autogynephilia.
Yeah.
And I don't have a particular like direction I want to take us in, other than like we watched your video, and I thought that it was. Hold on, can you talk quickly? Okay, you guys can hear him, right? Okay.
Hello.
So I don't have a particular direction other than like having watched your video. And first thing I want to say is like I want to like commend you and being honest about that area of your life. Like I think specifically
My
because
sexuality.
like your sexuality. I mean, getting specific about it, but then also being forthcoming about the sort of like motivations that maybe led you to feeling like you had some particular like trans experience, or like you had wanted to transition.
Yeah,
And then kind of like
I mentioned in the video, it wasn't just that. It was a lot of other things too, but
okay,
that was part of it.
okay, cool. I think I had like a specific question actually that I wanted to ask about that. So I think in the video you talked about how you had kind of like, did you come out to your dad as trans, and then you guys had like a discussion, or?
I told my parents that I wanted to get hormones. Actually, what I wanted to get was hormone blockers, and then maybe do hormones, but yeah. And my dad looked at it and he's like, no, that doesn't seem like a good idea.
Were you provided with like any justification, or was it more centered around like, because you said studies, right? Like he
did the research, and he's like, it's gonna be bad for you, bad for your health. It's gonna have all these effects on you, and those were all the things that I wanted, but I wanted those bad things, but I'm glad that I didn't get them.
Are you comfortable being a little bit more specific? Like, what bad things would you have said?
Honestly, I don't remember the specifics, but like, for one, it probably would have like shrunk my dick, or made me start getting breasts, and I didn't want to get breasts, but
The general atrophy.
I wanted to be just like androgynous, but and like not get like too muscular, a better skin, like hair. I was very, very much like a femboy at that point. And
Okay.
I think that being a femboy is very so autogynephilia, autoandrophilia. Autogynephilia is being aroused by the thought of yourself as a woman.
Mm-hmm. I was actually going to ask you to clarify because someone in the chat wanted to know.
I heard you talking earlier, but you seem to not agree with this, but I'm of the school of thought that most women are very autogynephilic. And then I heard you arguing with someone that said most men are autoandrophilic. I don't agree. I think that most women are autogynephilic, but I don't agree that most men are autoandrophilic. I think the men are able to have a neutral like experience with sex where they don't like fetishize their maleness. They just go, you know. And I feel like that's almost why women are autogynephilic, because they're getting their pleasure by becoming the object. They're getting their pleasure through the man, who is the neutral experiencer.
Okay. I think if I'm isolating the part of the conversation that you were listening to, I think that, so it was Jay Chisel. So he conceded to me that in the way that he expresses or like performs his masculinity, that he would regard himself as autoandrophilic, because so that was his personal point of expression. I don't remember him saying that he feels like all men are, but he also made a point of saying like not to the point of narcissism, right? Because I think when we talk about autogynephilia as in general, I think a lot of people will take the self part and then kind of run with like a a narcissistic like narrative or whatever.
There is a lot of autosexuality in certain types of narcissism. Also, autogynephilia can be a masochistic thing. I was way more autogynephilic when I was a teenager because I didn't respect women as much, and it was more fun because of that. The idea of and still the fantasy. This is, I don't know how much of this is misogynistic. Probably some of it, but way less. Be respecting women has so ruined my sex drive. But I mean, just this is in some way. But still the thought. I don't know how much I don't know how I know how much this is misogynistic. But regardless, the thought of being transed as a crude way by a partner, by a woman, as like a lifestyle thing, that makes you so horny. But also, that is a horrible thing to base your life on. That is a horrible plan. That is not I think people do that. And if I know, because I was really close, and I had talked about it with some different partners and everything. And had I started similar to the fantasy starting to become less fun of an idea because of respecting women more, that changed it into changed it from like a fantasy into, it converted into, what if I was just actually like a woman? And it wasn't. And then if I were to start transitioning, it would probably lose a lot of that sexual appeal, and then I would just be like, oh, I'm just a woman now. and a lot of that would probably, because you can't keep that up all the time. I think it would probably ruin the fantasy eventually. But then
You
you're
would have
just
desensitized yourself to a lot of the elements I think that you would have inherently been attracted to, I think. I mean, that's maybe what I'm
Sure.
hearing, what I'm drawing from what you're saying.
To have, yeah, for me, I realized it all breaks down into a TPE thing. TPE stands for total power exchange, and I enjoy power exchange in sex.
Okay.
So
How inclined, okay, sorry, and this isn't any of my business, but in any of your like relationships, or like were you to get into a relationship? Sorry, what I meant that, like, I don't know if you're currently in a relationship and don't feel like the inclination to answer that, but like, were you to get into a relationship, how inclined would you be to, like, you know, communicate this fetish to like your partner? Like, is that something that you feel like is kind of burdensome, or
yeah, for now it's much more purely talking about power exchanges. That's one way that can manifest. But as far as power exchanges, it allows, because I've broken it down to that element, it allows for a lot more freedom on their part to figure out and kind of collaborate on what can they get out of it. Because power exchange means that they can get something out of it. The problem is most women don't want to be empowered sexually, and that makes things very tricky for me, and that makes me need to be a feminist, just because I need my sexual needs met. So
where do you tie in the feministic element into like your sexual needs? Like, do you feel like
so
that's like kind of getting the door,
I've
getting
got
to
this,
the door?
I've got
or-
this sick enjoyment lately, and I've been taking screenshots. I'm collecting them. Maybe I'll post them at the same time. No, not with any usernames. Just the title of posts on Reddit in femdom community, or FLR, female-led relationship, which is like a lifestyle choice that kind of revolves around the man wanting to be super subservient and like a cock basically, and like, you know, he's like doing all the chores, she keeps him in chastity, whatever way they do it. And there are like posts, titles that I'll see where they're like, you know, it's like she won't, like, she doesn't know how to be dominant, or I'm struggling, or, you know, like, so many of these men, they'll like bring it up to women, and the women were like, oh sure, I'll try it, but they're only doing it because they want to satisfy him, but they have no enjoyment of being empowered at all. So it all becomes just a sick, like, they're spending themselves completely just trying to fulfill this desire for their boyfriend or their husband, and not actually getting any enjoyment from being the empowered partner.
So do you think you're feminist, like, so when you say feminism, do you feel like that's more of an inclination to make the act more reciprocal? Because you understand that you're expending, she would be expending more energy to satisfy you than in reverse, right?
Yeah, I so many women that I've been with, I'm making a rap song called Sexual Retard, and it's about this, but it's so many women that I've been with, their desire is almost entirely centered around my desire, and it makes it so that it's not like they like basically want me to be like a force of nature, like rapist kind of thing, like, but they want me to rape them in the right way, so there's not actually rape that they want, you know, but yeah.
So okay, so you, like, something that I'm kind of just noticing is that, so you get into a relationship with a woman, right?
Would
And
you
just
like some black hole magic?
what is that? Was it red or white?
It's clear.
It's clear. No, I mean, what is the, like, what's the varietal? Is that wine?
Huh? It's water.
It's red. Oh, it's water. I'm like, hey, what's red or whatever? Okay, so I think a woman coming, so this is something that I'm like just thinking about. Okay, so like you coming into a relationship with a woman who has like pre-existing expectations for at least like your sexual interactions, you think that would be maybe like contradicting to like what you actually want out of the relationship? Like, wouldn't you want, so for example, like you would want her to set the terms, but if she had any particular expectations for you to do that, then would you feel like that would be
Look,
kind of get what I'm
I
alluding to?
need her to, for me to be, it's not hard for me to get a boner, but if she needs me to get a boner because I want to like rape her, it's not gonna happen. Like, I need, um, like it. The less she cares about my dick, the more likely I'm gonna get a boner, and I need a, like, if that's her single like fixation, then it makes me, it just, it just doesn't, like, I need like space to feel like something is for me, because if my because in the dynamic that most women have, my desire becomes for her. And
Okay.
in femdom, like, a lot of it is your desire is for you. I want this out of you, and you deal with the fact that you're horny, and that's like, oh yes, now I finally get to fucking just be horny without it being about you, you fucking bitch. Like, and I like, oh, like, lick my foot. Like, it's not like she's getting off on that, but like the fact that she's not getting off on it is why now I can finally just be horny. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I don't feel like I can just fucking use a person like that, where I mean, maybe like that's something I need to work on, but so, but also almost all women that I've ever, all women that I've ever been with, they
Mhm.
don't know how to not make my desire feel like it's for them.
Uh, so, like in a relationship, what would you like? How would you prioritize like your sexual needs? Like, would you say it's like a pretty high priority or?
I mean, sure. I mean, but it's something you can work on, and
Yeah, totally. Because I say this because it sounds like you've had to like settle in a lot of circumstances, right? Like obviously, like you have some sort of expectations for what an ideal sexual interaction might look like, and but you've been having to like coach people to that.
well, that's the thing. I don't want to be like those guys on those posts where they're like coaching their girlfriend or their wife to try to like get her to dom them, but like it's actually just, it's all like fake. I just want like an equal participant in the creative project of sex. I don't want to be completely running the fuck every time. And in that dynamic, that female-led relationship dynamic, that femdom dynamic, the man is still running the fuck just from the sub position. And I've felt that, and I don't
Mhm.
like that either. I need someone who's actually, like, I have a lot of creativity, sexual creativity, but I need someone who is not going, who also has some creativity to bring to the table. And I feel like women don't ever expect to be given that creativity. They're all, ooh, some man is going to come and show me the world. And they, they're just ready, and their fantasy is all about like being ready for that, and what's he gonna do to me, and all that. It's
Yeah.
not really about how am I going to engage in sex. It's about what is he gonna do, what is he gonna do to me.
Okay. So have you ever had any experience with like where that hasn't been the case? Because it
A
sounds
little
like
bit.
you,
Yeah, well, actually
yeah.
a little bit now that I think of it.
So this is like somebody coming to the table with like maybe something you're familiar with or not familiar with, and then of kind of like say for example, say for example, like you're dating a person, right? And she's like one day where she's like, okay, Smeth, we're doing this. And so the act, or like maybe she's asking you to engage in like a fetish that you're not particularly interested in, but with the
Mhm.
simple nature of her
Okay, there's
saying,
two
"Hey,
there's two
Smith."
ways that's two ways that this happens. One of
Okay.
them I am really into because I'm totally fine being ambivalent and just going through it. And actually, if I like rather enjoy that to some extent because it's just so intimate. Where okay, I want to use you in this way. And it's like, I mean, I won't always want to do it, but it's like, okay, like let's do that. Let's do that, and I'm cool with that. But one thing that I see that happens, and I see it in all these subreddits, men complaining about it, and they're like, but they're not really, these fucking submissive men are all fucking pathetic, and they're unwilling to really come forward with exactly, but it's that she will not be okay with the dynamic at all, but she's not willing to admit it. And
Mhm.
her way of being the dom is to make everything and completely unsexual. So like it's just doing chores for her or whatever, and like because she's unable to actually get there, and I'm trying to work on it, but I just don't know how. And that's it's just I hate I've been with women who do that, and it's like you're just trying to avoid you're trying to avoid the fucking sex, you know. I'll do your dishes or whatever if there's a point to it, not just because you want to do that as an avoidance type thing, you know.
Yeah. I think like, so you probably recognize this as well, like that. I mean, it is for most women, I think doing something like that would be like straining to some degree, like straining. I don't know if you necessarily want to say like their sexuality, but I mean, I guess like you don't want to necessarily like walk someone through it either. So I don't know. It just seems like it's like uh a
Well,
very like there's gonna be a very unique kind of person who's able to engage in a way that's like, you know.
I don't see it as that. I just think you have to be, there's two elements at play. There is your ability to, you have to be narcissistic enough in a either unhealthy or healthy way, but you would want it to be a healthy way, where you are able to just take charge and focus on your needs. Um, and I think, and so that's desirable. And there is creativity.
Okay.
And I I have both of those. So I need a partner that has both of those, and most women don't. And most women expect men to have most of all that stuff too. So really, I want some fucking reparations here. I have been denied really like I'm these women want to fucking be like children, and I don't want to fuck a child. So I want you to grow up.
Okay. So if you're like, okay, so if you're seeking out a relationship, you probably know what to avoid at this point, right? Because I feel like, so, but what would be like what would be something that would give you that sense of mind that you're like, okay, this person might be like, do you feel like that creative
I'll
woman
date
exists?
I would date somebody that doesn't have it all figured out. It's
But how
just
would you, but it's just, I can't
that's
help
not
but think you're
the
just like shooting in the dark, you know what I mean? So like, how would you would have to know some
but
sort of like maybe behavior
there's
that
so
like
many
you'd be like,
different
okay,
there's so many different metrics that are important to me, and I think that there are values that I think are really important. Um, Willingness to have a lot of conflict in a relationship is really important to me. Um, yeah, it's just so much more complex than just specifically only sexual
Okay.
I don't I don't think that that is likely. Like if I found a woman who was the perfect sexual compatibility, I don't think that she it's likely that she would be compatible in the other ways. And the other ways are come first, and the sexual it can like grow and kind of because way most women to get to that point have to process a lot of trauma. It's not like I'm gonna coach her to be like in like a lot of these men are I think are like foolishly in the women or they're foolishly going into that where it's like they're trying to no I think you have to work through something to be able to get to that place.
Okay.
um yeah.
So to be able to like actualize your sexual desire,
Yeah,
there's to be a degree of like friction
yeah, because
first.
most women like that don't really know exactly what they want. They just want the man to know what he wants, but it has to be what she wants, but she doesn't really know what she wants, but it has to be what he wants. And they know that they're horny, but they also know that when they're horny they get hurt or they don't enjoy it or it's not with, but that's because of the way that they think about it and they're not able to really they haven't had that space to really explore that. And a lot of them like suck at even masturbating. Like I'm a pro. I can I can go
I
like
believe you, Smeth. I believe.
I could go like 20 times in a row. Um
Remarkable.
but you know, but it would have to be like um really like I couldn't just be to generic, you know. I would have to really like go into because I've figured out what it is in my mind, what mechanisms are getting me going, and women don't seem to have explored that so much.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I think coming from my side of things, like we were talking about this earlier. And so like I put Jay on the spot and I was like, what so if you had to throw me into like HSTS or AGP, like what would you do? And he like obviously he gave me some cop out answer, but primarily like one of his biggest things was like I wouldn't regard myself as asexual whatsoever. Like I think I've just had a lot of really shitty sexual experiences. So I feel like I'm still holding out for the idea that like, okay, maybe I haven't had the right one. But ultimately my association with sex is like pretty bad. And so when you get into the idea of like AGP and like general arousal, like I think that like there needs to be like I need to be able to like there needs to be like a degree of like intimacy and trust. Like I guess the idea of what is it called? The idea of like getting to know someone before you have any real sexual attraction to the person. You know, it's not that deep. Like there's a word for it. But essentially like um when it comes back
Chemistry.
to like well yeah, but no, I mean there's one of these like fucking terms that makes
Demi. Yeah.
demisexual.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like okay, so for me, like my approach to like the, you know, sexuality has always been really like I don't know, not I guess like maybe not particularly healthy and like, you know, I'm the type of person like I think vaginas are gross, I think penises are gross, but like when you get to know somebody, then there's like the potential for it to not be gross. Right? So it's not like it's just objectively that's my belief. And
I've
so I don't inherently sexualize them, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
I inherently sexualize them, but it's not like I can sexualize and objectify people, but it's not really what gets me hard. Yeah, it takes a more intimate thing to really get me going. And if and so I think that in sex, the way I'm talking about the thing that I have a problem with most women is that they are expecting all the intimacy to come from me, and I need some
Yeah.
intimacy to come from them. You know, I need to be a little
Okay.
bit in their world too.
Yeah. Like so there's like see like I guess I am of the mindset that like if you know if he's happy I'm happy, you know what I mean, and so like that particular line of thought, I think for someone like you would probably be pretty irritating. Am I wrong for saying that or no?
Yeah, because if he's happy, I'm happy, but like that means that it's just a one-way intimacy.
Right. Yeah. Totally. And like there's the other side of it as well. Like I could totally understand your view on that. And it's interesting. It's an interesting like I think from my side of things, it's like, okay, giving someone else gratification or whatever is like satisfying to me if in the right
Me
circumstances.
too.
But as you from your side of things, maybe just like as a whole, as a centered like thing, maybe you would see it as like I'm a non-participant. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, in a certain way, yeah. I just like for someone to enjoy the thought of me doing something that isn't making them come, that's cool.
can you say that one more time?
To enjoy the thought of me doing something that isn't literally just fucking them with my dick. Anything
Okay.
else, anything, then it becomes not. It becomes like a more of a space for me to be just horny, you know.
Okay, I have.
There's a lot more to why I wanted to transition than sexually though.
Hey, Smeth, I just want to say this really quickly. Something that I've
Say it
noticed
quicker.
about the way you communicate.
I just
Do you want me to yell?
No.
Can I say it louder?
no. If you
So-
said quicker, I don't care how quick you say it.
So when you communicate, I recognize that you pause and you think, and I appreciate that because I feel like you don't force words out when you don't need to. But what I've been noticing about what I've been doing is that I see that as like, okay, he's done talking, and so I've been kind of cutting through your thought process. I
doesn't bother me.
recognize. Okay, I just want you to know that I'm not like.
Unless it bothers
But
you, but I mean, I don't.
No. I think that generally the idea in
You
a
cut me off to
conversation
tell
is
me
to allow
that you
people
don't want
to.
to. You cut me off to tell me that you don't want to cut me off.
Well, generally speaking, you want to let somebody finish their thoughts, not their words, right? They're not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, you were saying before this that you didn't think that this is your only
No.
reason for. Okay.
It's
Do you
because
wanna
I was
continue that
in
thought?
art school. Women were treated better, especially non-binary. They them early early transition female to male. Those like you physically look like a woman, but you are also in a social group of a gender, whatever, but you look like a woman. Those are the people that were idolized, and I thought that I am into short hair. I'm into like tomboys, and they were tomboys, and those are the people that everybody loved, and I wanted to be them too. And not only did the thought of like being them make me horny, but also thought of being them made me feel like I would be loved and accepted. I also hated myself. I would talk about a lot how I hated being a man. I hated men. I don't relate to men. I wish that I wasn't a man. And so all of those things came into play. But those feelings were all because of how I was being treated and the environment that I was in. And when I left that environment and stopped surrounding myself with people like that, then I stopped feeling like that.
Okay. So how did you okay, so that was removing yourself from that environment was enough to kind of like reconcile with the way you felt about your gender? Or was it like more than that? Do you feel like you came to some degree of like confidence in
Yeah,
who you
because
were?
it's
Or-
not my I agree with a lot of stuff that like queer theory type stuff. In terms like
I do
don't
not.
oh,
I'm a
okay,
little
well,
critical,
I
but
don't know
yeah.
I don't know about all, but
But
I
I'm
agree,
open-minded,
like
you know, like I listen to people. Yeah.
like the starting point of a lot of it is that gender is a social construct, and I highly agree. And it's so I believe it was in that environment that social construct became like a very real thing for me, but I want to escape that. And it's what I wanted at that time. I wanted to be the one that wasn't, everybody hated men. I remember I was at a poetry slam. Like I went on a Tinder date with someone that brought me to a fucking poetry slam, and it was like a big competition, and there was like a group of like 8 people, and one was the non-binary female tomboy, one was a white dude, one was a fat black girl, one was like they're all different. But the white dude, so after everybody did their poetry, it was judged by how loud the clapping was. And the white dude got way less clapping, but his poem was fucking equal par to everyone else. And then he ran out of the room and crying. And I was in art school and I saw that, and I was like, and I was on this Tinder date, and I was like, I was like having like a moment, because I was like, dude, I get it, and like this is fucked up. Whatever's happening here is fucked up. Like what? Like that's me too. And yeah, I really hated men. I hated myself. I don't want to hate men, and I don't want to hate myself, and I don't think it's inherent. I think that it is a social construct.
So gender.
Yeah.
So recognizing that gender was a social construct, you recognize that your experience was only your experience and it had nothing to do with your gender, like your negative experience. Do you know
Well,
what I'm
I
saying?
just
Like,
don't think
would you
that.
say that it was circumstantial, or?
Well, I just don't think that gender. I think it had everything to do with my gender, but I don't think gender is inherent. I think that gender is a social construct. So in that social environment, that's what my gendered experience was, and that environment was the problem. The problem wasn't me. The problem was the environment.
Okay. And so nowadays with your gender, like do you feel like that's more solidified now?
I don't want people to treat me different because I'm a man, ever.
Okay. Fair enough. And do you find that you still kind of experience that? I mean, it's probably not avoidable, right?
Sure. I think that um, some people just find it easy to just, I'll fill into the gendered expectations or whatever, but I don't like them either way. The person that I wanted to be wasn't actually a woman. It was to be the tomboy. What I would actually say at the time is I wanted to be a trans man that has not taken hormones. So I just wanted like in every way to
Specific.
discombobulate the whole gendered thing, and I also thought it'd be really horny to be a skinny tomboy. It made
Okay.
me horny. So it was all those things. So I would have gotten that, you know, queer theory, gender euphoria, which just is being horny. That's what gender euphoria is. It's being horny.
So is that okay? So when you say euphoria, that's built around. Okay, I would concede that if it was built around the idea of like autogynephilia,
Sure.
but I think we divert a little there because I don't know if you remember hearing the conversation we had earlier. But one of the biggest things that like my biggest point of contention was that um, I think that there are people who transition with like the fetish as like their sole motivation, and so the way that I'm able to discern like I don't want to say like different kinds of like trans people, specifically trans women, is just kind of like prioritization, and it's almost like how that is like not like deliberate either, like it's more communicated and their actions and the way they interact with the world. So I felt that when we got into like the AGP conversation and stuff and we started talking about things like euphoria, I really struggled with like the arousal element because I mean
People,
personally I don't know how I could look in the mirror and not just be like pissed, you know what I mean? So
um, yeah, it's also probably, um, I, I tried to be like a femboy and put a lot of work into it. It's probably harder because you're black or brown. Because like
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to that. Like as a white dude, like the feminized, like it's easier for you to see a white guy as like a more feminized.
In some circumstances, possibly. I think like the thing with me though is that I benefited a lot from living in a very like tolerant city and like but I've also been like a visible minority just skin wise. Like I grew up in a very white town. My family's interracial, so I don't have like a typical like lived experience of somebody who's like I'm Salvadorian, right? So Spanish and or his Latina, whatever you want to say. People get lose their mind when I say Spanish. But so I don't have a typical experience of somebody who's grown up as like a minority
I
whatsoever.
didn't mean that. I just meant like
Well, I just wanted to
vision.
say that as well because I think it infers a lot of the way I think as well. Like I think
It
that's
does.
important.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It's not fair. Like white guys are able to be more feminine and be more masculine, but like you're Latino, whatever, Latina, um, but like I'm just thinking of like in the United States, like a black guy, it's probably a lot harder for black guys to be anything. It's honestly it's a lot harder for black guys to be anything but like a macho man. That's the only role that we really accept them in, you know.
They need to be, in a lot of
They gotta fuck our
circumstances.
wives. Yeah, they have to be a macho man so that
Well,
I can be a pathetic cuckold. Unless he's gonna be a macho man, then my fantasy can't happen. I need him to fuck my wife.
I think you're joking.
No,
But
I'm bringing it to like I don't actually. I've thought this before. I think that they're like. I think that sort of is a truth to why we need them to be that. Why we hold them to those standards. It's not. Like we really do sexualize black men in a certain way.
true, it's true. But they sexualize me too, so
So you're benefiting from what I'm talking about in a way too.
I don't know. I think that the people that are typically like okay, so like just historically, and this has been my experience, but like they're like I've dated men, the Vol, like I don't know, mostly it's actually pretty even, white and black women, and so, but I'm saying like black men are the more likely to like actually message me and say something rather than like yeah. So that's the only distinction I'll make as far as experience. Like they're all shitty, white, black, brown. No, I'm kidding. Like they're just that it's the actual experience isn't really like racial, but yeah, that's the only real distinction I would make, I guess.
I've just have like a random thought, but I think I've said this before. But I have like a racial solution for incels. That so incels have all
Right.
these problems with like women, and they saying like women like all suck and everything. Um, Date black women because the way that black women, they have a lot more trouble getting attention. So they and they're because the things that you're complaining about women way more apply to white women because they get the woman treatment way more than black women. But black women are going to be way more chill. They didn't have that fucking special, maybe a little bit, but they didn't have it as much as the white women. So all the things you're complaining about, just fucking start dating black women.
The two, so I have, but there is 2 out of 3 out of my mods are black women, so when they get
Hell
here,
yeah.
I'll have to have them weigh in on that. But no, specifically though,
They
like,
don't get enough love. Black women don't get enough love.
hey, I mean, I don't think that I have a particular preference to anyone. racial background, again, like I think that I have, the history that I have, again, based on like who's more likely to reach out, right?
Hmm.
But there's also like when you get into like the machismo element as well, where like the stakes are kind of higher for I guess me and like somebody who's like a considerate or like sympathetic partner to like somebody who's in like the black community that dates me, because the consequences of like them either a not having like the internal confidence to just reconcile that, or to like not being able to, and then dealing with the consequences of dating somebody who's trans. So it's kind of like a oh, Jelly's back. It's just an interesting conversation, Jelly.
I
Anyways,
just said that, Jelly. I'm guessing you're a black woman. I'm just saying that I like incels. They hate women for all the things that like black women are probably. They're probably way more compatible. They just need to date black women. That's what I'm saying. They hate white women. That's what I think incels hate white women. They're basing all their stereotypes about women on white women.
interesting. Okay. Huh. Like, okay, can you give me an example? Like, so I think that there's a lot
they
of shared
they hate and they
behaviors,
resent
but
like the fact like they'll have this image of like a woman can just cry and get whatever she wants. I've seen I can picture two experiences in my life. One, I was being driven in a car full of, it was me and 4 white women, and the car got a flat tire, and so we all got out and we're like, oh shit, we got a flat tire, and the driver of the car, she was like visibly like really upset. This guy in this fucking pickup truck like fucking pulls to a stop, he jumps out and he's like, oh, I'll help you ladies, and he does that. And I've seen like black women just be completely ignored, and they're not given the same time of day, and so if you want a woman who didn't get that treatment, and that's what you hate about women, then date black women.
Jesus. Okay. I think it's like both bad and like okay, I can't speak to that element, but if I actually think I believe you, but there are also like incels are not all white men, right? There's
Sure, yeah.
like considerable amounts of like, I don't know, red pill
And
adjacent, like
there's a
black
lot of
pill kind of
there's a
fit
lot of
men,
black
right?
men that are incels, and they seem to, and I'm not one of them, because I'm not black, but I know that they have a lot of like really mean criticisms of black women too, and
Yeah,
so
so their contention that what I've observed is like there's an own there's like a culture war in the black community where they're starting to recognize, well, I mean, it's always been recognized, but there's a big focus on like single parent households and the impact it has on the community. So a lot of their gender-based culture wars are actually on like who's to blame. So what is it, like people who are like single, like serial single moms, or is it like deadbeat dads? Like that kind of conversation goes back and forth, and it doesn't generally seem to like have any sort of ending. Like it, yeah. So that's what I observe
yeah,
a lot.
yeah, that's annoying.
I mean, it's understandable, I guess, but I think it's void of accountability. There's a lot of like, there's a big materialistic mentality that comes with like being on social media, and I do think that a lot of people struggle to prioritize. And so I think it can be even more difficult for communities that like don't really have it. Obviously, like that's not every black community, but there are a lot with
That communities that
um
don't really what?
don't really have shit. Like, do you ever like,
Oh,
okay, so like if you're somebody who's never had money, when you get money, it becomes like sometimes of like poor financial issues. And so we're not talking about the 1% of the people in the black community that get that money, but on micro examples, and this is something that I can experience as well, is like when you get money, you feel the inclination to buy things that you couldn't get when you didn't have
yeah,
money. So that's like, it's a vicious paradox, it's yeah, it's definitely something that's like not simple to solve, right? At least from a financial
yeah.
perspective.
The problem, the racialized poorness and
Well, that's like every minority group ever. Like this is poor people in general, right? So I
not
mean, we
every
just
minority. There are some rich minorities in certain places, like where I live. There's a lot of rich Indians. You know,
same,
so
actually same. Yeah.
there's a lot of poor Indians in the world, but it seems to be rich Indians tend to migrate. So, and same with Asians in general. Um, so like
No, it's true.
it's gonna be common. I think that's why probably there's a lot of black people that hate Asians. It's probably because they hate that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that to be the case necessarily. Like, I don't know, but personally, I think that um, with respect to like what sort of like, the dynamic a lot of the times within like minority communities is like what is it, the squeaky wheel gets the grease or whatever, like there's a lot of like minority communities that are almost pit against each other in a lot of circumstances because like they're all in some way committing to like competing for the same resources. So yeah, I think like even like you'll see more racial divides in a lot of like non-homogeneous minority communities for that reason. It's really really interesting, but I mean, this is like what I've observed because I'm in a place where the majority identity is white, by considerable margin. So it's like all my friends are white, like I have like maybe one brown friend, and like these are obviously IRL friends, right? But when I come on the internet, it's almost reverse. And so, I mean, I think one thing that I feel like has been beneficial for me is I've never actually felt like the pressure to make friends with somebody for a particular
racial
the what do you
reason.
want to call it? Well, demographic even. Like I don't have any trans friends either, which is weird.
Hmm.
So, but that's not because, like, so
Very
like in the
strange.
internet space and online space, yeah, like trans people tend to flock together, right?
In
And
real life
so,
too, where I was living, like when I was in school in the poetry slam, and like in my experience, if you were trans, you could plug yourself into a social community that gave you a lot of opportunities. Honestly, a guy I was talking to earlier today compares it, and I agree. It compares it a lot to a religion, and there's a lot of reasons I agree, but one in particular is that you become Christian, you can go to church and you can make friends, be like, and if you're trans, like there are so many communities that you can just join, and like people will be supportive and help you, and like help you find a house, like that. Where I was living, there was groups like that.
yeah, I've never like engaged with any sort of trans specific service or health or anything like that. And that's probably coming from a place of like privilege to recognize that. I mean, I don't know that they don't exist. I don't, well, actually, I mean, I've done some volunteering with the Pride organization, but that was purely like I didn't hang out with them.
Hmm.
And that wasn't because I didn't have any like desire to. It was just like because I had friends away from that, and so it was like a way for me to contribute to like my community, I suppose. But I never really participated in my community either. That was my way to like maybe reconcile with some of that, like I don't know if it's uh like maybe not survivor's guilt necessarily, like okay, so like to be a trans person that doesn't necessarily like feel the need to find like kinship with other trans people, like it comes with a degree of like confidence or internal like uh whatever you want to say, like internal like there's chaos. Obviously everyone has internal chaos, but for me, like on the trans side of things, it's not as turbulent as I have recognized in other trans women. And so with that degree of like safety, it has allowed me to like not so much prioritize my interactions and like I said, wider trans stuff. And so it kind of comes back to like, okay, how do I interact with a community that, benefits me, but also I generally have no desire to interact with outside of like um shared experiences, I guess. And a lot of that I guess is kind of like based on pure disagreements or, ideological differences. And some of it's just because I think it's so superficial to just pick someone who's like, like you're like me, let's be friends. Like I don't feel like that's a good
Yeah,
basis for making a friendship.
I think that trans people, all of you, no, just kidding. But I think a lot of trans people, I think baked into being trans is a desire to be treated a certain way,
Okay.
and other trans people will treat you that way.
True. So like it's yeah, I get what you're saying. Like so yeah, I mean I can go into a trans. Okay, well yes and no. Okay, so here's the thing. And like this isn't unique by any means. You'll probably know where I'm headed with this, but like so I used to I was sent into like a leadership program. I used to work for the Y growing up. Not growing up, like a couple years ago, and so they sent me to like a leadership conference or whatever. And so I remember going to this conference, okay, on like the West Coast. I'm Canadian, right? So West Coast, and I live in British Columbia, and so it's like as woke as you can be, right? It's
I
like
thought you said you
literally
lived in
like
Brazil.
No.
I said, I like when I started this, I like before I hopped on, I was like, I think, I said Neve, but it's Neve, right? Um, I think Neve is in Brazil. I don't know why I said that, but I don't know why I thought that. But anyway,
No, I live in British Columbia in Canada, like a couple hours away from Vancouver. So, anyways, they sent me to like the on the island or whatever, and there's like okay, the idea is like 20 female leaders, 20 masculine leaders or whatever, or men, and so like everyone is presumably cis, okay, and we go into this like massive like logging house where we start doing like different icebreaker activities. And one of the first things we do when we get in the room is like instead of breaking off into smaller groups, we all like one by one kind of introduce like where we're from, like what our pronouns are, and like just by nature of like where they started and where they ended, it was basically like they worked their way around this 30-40 person room so that like 39 cis people could tell you that they were the gender that they like looked like. So like like if you assumed that that this person was he him, they probably were kind of thing, only so that they could make their way to me and have me say she her. And so the reason I bring this up to you is because I think that when you're in trans-specific communities, there's practices like using and like stating pronouns where like they actually work against me in a lot of circumstances, actually not for me. So that's why I like kind of prefer being in like spaces where I guess I'm more socially at risk, but also and physically even. But then like I'm fine when people assume, because it's more like gratifying when they get it right than it would be if I like had to just like perform that whatever pronoun chant to you and then have you like validate it to me the other way. Or even when somebody so like a lot of the times like there are other things that resonate about me to people in a very masculine way, okay? And so like having a degree of sense of awareness, like I'm pretty in tune with what those things are. And so even when somebody does use like he him pronouns for the first couple of interactions with me, I do find that over long periods of time they do move their way to like she her. So that again is more gratifying for me, because it's like they see
it's
me
like
for who I really am,
it's also
not who's
because
on
like
the
they
surface.
respect you and care about you.
True. I mean, they could be like, oh, they could think I'm a guy the whole time or whatever, and just be more inclined to say my pronouns, and that's fine too, right? But it's better than being superficial, surface level, and only doing it because you feel socially, inclined to. So,
Yeah.
mm. So it's a weird dynamic.
I
But
was arguing about the pronouns thing earlier.
what was your
I don't. I use. I don't. I'll often, in person or talking directly to somebody, I'll use the pronouns that they want.
Mhm.
But and so like Did you just change your camera or something, or did you lean back?
I had like do you know NVIDIA Broadcast?
No,
I had an auto zoom. Yeah,
okay,
so I basically turned the filter off. It was auto zoom, and it zoomed me out.
okay. Um,
Sorry.
okay, so I'm just gonna cut to the chase. So how do I see you? How do I see you? I don't look at you and think man in the same way I look at another man. Like I see you as a trans woman. I know that that is like part of who you are. And if I'm like in a social environment with you, I wouldn't say he because I know that that would be hurtful to you and everything. But I do think you have a dick. And so like that's like the only thing that my brain even cares about. You know,
Yeah, no, fair enough.
so yeah. Like
No.
because all the rest of like the stuff for me is like I think that like I want to get rid of all of that. All the gender I don't want to participate in gender. You know, for me pronouns just mean like sex. I understand gender is not sex.
Mhm.
But for me that's all it is the pronouns.
Okay. I get what you're saying there. I think a lot of people would hear you have said statement like that and maybe seen it as a little like whatever. Like I'm not I'm pretty easy to I mean actually it's pretty difficult to like offend me. I think you have to be
I'm not
making a
trying
really
to.
no, I know you're not. I know you're not. But somebody maybe observing this conversation between some guy and a trans woman, right? And having you said that statement. But I guess what you're like, maybe for people who don't necessarily understand, who aren't picking up on it, I guess what you're saying is like, okay, you can tell that I'm like trying to present as a woman, but it's very clear to you that I was
I
not
want
born as
you.
one,
I
right?
I
Is
want
that what
you.
you're saying?
I don't want to treat you like the way that most men get treated, because that's you are broadcasting to me that you don't want to be treated that way. You know you and you know like I tend to not try to treat women and men differently in the first place, but still, um, like when I see trans women, I
Hmm.
do want to treat them not like a man. I don't want to, because, and I think that's cool, and I respect that, and like I value that a lot. Um, the pronouns thing, I go along with that because I don't want to hurt their feelings, but
Right.
I don't like the pronouns thing. I don't. I think that you should be able to be a man that wears a dress and be treated a certain way and not have to do all the um, changing your body to get people to do it or have to do anything like that. It just
So
be.
I would actually argue that the way you treat me is actually going to be more indicative of the way I treat you. So you say like you would not want to treat me like a man, right?
Sure.
Ideally. Knowing just on the
I
surface level that knowing that I'm a
conceptualize
trans
you.
woman,
I
right?
conceptualize you as like someone who wants to be treated not like a man.
Right? But then do you feel like don't you feel like the burden though? Like if you really think about it, the burden is actually more on me to act in a way that aligns with that because I can't actually coerce you or force you
Actually,
into being like,
no. I don't feel like you have to do that to get. As soon as like it's very clear to me that you're trans, and like I like it doesn't matter how masculine you even like act to me. Like I know that like you actually are aspiring to be I'm not very I don't know. It makes sense to me to not try to lump you in categorically in my mind, but I still lump you in categorically as someone with a dick. Um, and I have certain like associations of people with dicks, like there are some, but those are so small because I don't believe that we're so different.
mhm.
I just I so yeah. If you are a trans woman, I want to give you space to be more like whatever things like maybe more warm or more because I can see that you're projecting you're or not you're broadcasting you want that space
What would you say that I'm doing other than my appearance that I
I
would
don't
be
know.
to like broadcast that?
Not much.
Was it just like a consciously thing or what? Like,
I'm not really thinking about it. I just know that you're telling, by being trans, you're telling me that you want something along those lines.
so okay, so yes, okay, maybe. I mean, okay, so like I have like I'm a very pragmatic person for the most part. I am very ruled by my emotions, don't get me wrong. But that has more to do with like, my being like emotionally dysregulated, and I work on that, but I don't make it other people's problems. Going back to like the way I interact with the world and the way I perceive the world, like a lot of people say like, oh, you have a lot of internalized transphobia or this or whatever, because I put a lot of the burden on the way people treat me and the way people perceive me on me. Like I don't. So like it's like I will go into any interaction. Like I go into every interaction, and I know you're thinking like maybe this sounds like a little paranoid, like being prepared to be like hate crimed almost. And so, and then it's like, okay, I'm kind of happy that it didn't happen, but I'm also rational enough to think that the likelihood of that happening is kind of low.
I
But that's
love
what I'm
it
saying. Like,
when I see
my expect my expectations
when I
are
see
very low, but I'm also a rational person.
when I see like a trans woman like burp unapologetically, or like just do whatever, like not caring, like that, I'm like, fuck yeah, because you are doing the same thing that a woman does when they break their gender norms. And it's even more scary for a trans woman because you feel, I feel that the trans women feel this extra pressure to extra signal to everyone that, all the time, and it even puts you in a box in a big way. And
It's cringe, but you get it. Like it's unfortunate, but it's kind of cringe sometimes.
yeah,
Unfortunately,
but I still
yeah.
don't actually agree with trans people about, I don't agree that gender's real.
Hey, can you give me? That's a big statement. Can I just run to the bathroom quickly and then? Sorry, I need to say.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, just give me 1 sec.
All right, can you still hear me? I don't know if they can still hear me, but let's do this, and then I can do. I guess it's an intermission. I guess sometimes a human gotta piss, but you know what a human doesn't gotta do? Take hormones. Oh. Why do I automatically think about someone's genitals? I just think it's an animal thing. Yeah. And I do think there are some behavioral differences between males and females, but I don't place a lot of emphasis or value on those because I think that they are just kind of a baseline difference. And most of the differences I think between males and females are expressed because of cultural differences, how we train people and raise them and all that. Yes, animals, not only do they think about genitals, they go up and they sniff them and they make sure and they figure out.
Hey, I'm back.
What's up?
Hey. Okay.
Could your stream hear me?
Okay. Yeah, they could hear you.
I was talking to my chat about animals sniffing genitals.
Nice. So because I actually did hear you. So you said it's like an animalistic thing where you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I think.
okay.
Yeah, I think like a dog or a pig or whatever, a cat. Like they see another cat and what's going on? They look and then their brain is wired to really quick figure out if it's a male or a female, and
Totally. Yeah. I mean,
I like so
I think
here's something like you could like I especially because you're trans, it makes me feel like I want to be like forthcoming about like anything. It could be like called like transphobic or anything, but like, and I don't feel like this is
Yeah, I
transphobic.
don't give a fuck. Just don't get clipped, you know?
I don't think this is transphobic, but um, I I feel like I have no problem. I've used to say so many times, like I mentioned it early in this conversation, but I used to identify my sexual interest as trans men that haven't taken hormones. Um, but
The women?
well, yeah, but like tomboys.
Okay. Ellen's.
But
Okay, got it.
but
I'm just joking. I don't actually feel that
well,
about
like
them.
I've gone on so many Tinder dates with trans men who just started taking hormones. That is a coincidence that has happened with me multiple times. And it feels like I'm exploiting them because the hormones that they just started taking have made them super fucking horny. And as soon as I learned that, I'm like, "Oh, I you are here because you are out of your mind horny right now. You've never lived with this and don't know how to fucking handle it." And they'll be like, "Yes, that's exactly what's happening." And then part of me feels dirty because I'm like, well, like I'm literally like taking advantage of their situation here by yeah.
Would you regard yourself as like a chaser then? Like I've never
Chaser?
thought chase.
No, because I don't
Yeah, like a
because
chaser would be more
I
women,
have
right?
turned
Depends on
people
women.
like that down because I don't want to um end up be dating someone that's body's gonna change and like I'm interested in what you look like right now. I'm not interested in dating someone that's gonna be changing their body with like hormones and all that. And
But you know that's a chaser mentality. I'm not saying like
I don't.
the label's insignificant, right? It's really just a coincidence in like your dating history. And so like my experience with like quote unquote like chaser men, like people who are like, you know, maybe said some sus interest in me, is that like they're quick to kind of like if that like I've had
I
them
just like
initiate conversation.
tomboys.
No, that's fine. This is like this here. I'm just trying to draw a parallel. So, like, I've had like men kind of try and suss out where my what my long-term goals are for my transition, only so they could state to me that like they don't think that I should go through with bottom surgery. It's fucked up,
What's
but
what's wrong with?
that's because to some degree they see me as like they'd be like, oh, this person would be perfect as a long-term partner as long as they don't do that. So what they're essentially saying is like you're being, I guess, more ethical about it if you really break it down, because at least you're not gonna feign interest in them while they like
But
go through their body changes. But for that
so how long have
person,
you dated those people though? Like before they tell you that?
oh, very quickly, I'm like, it's done. It's not like we're
Oh,
dating either. It's
okay.
like
Because if it takes them a
conversational,
long
first
time,
of all.
yeah. If it's off the bat and they say like they're interested in
Yeah.
dating a trans woman with a dick, and not,
They just like dick. Weird.
or they like you, but they don't like you if you were to change.
Well, the thing about it is like, you know, it's kind of contradictory where, okay, like, yeah, I mean, for someone to be like, okay, like, obvious, like, based on what you said earlier, yeah, the dick is a thing, and obviously I don't fucking advertise it, but yeah, it's implied, just, you know, it's implied, like you said, there's like an animalistic, you can tell, right? And so, like, so, you know, there's to some degree, I signal that to chasers, right? Not intentionally,
What does it do? Okay,
but
quick, hold on. Can you define a chaser? I don't
okay,
understand.
so
This doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I don't.
okay, so let me tell you. Okay, let me tell you what I believe them to be. Okay, because I actually don't know because I don't relate. So basically, I believe these people have like super bad. Like they have a history of like they're probably into like super crazy like trans porn, and that their idea of trans women is like built solely around like porn, and so that when they see trans women, they apply those like same expectations and characteristics to the women. So they like they expect us to be like tops, or like to have like massive dicks, or you know, to be like hyper feminine and really like do kind it's like porn brained trans addiction, but it's like they can't necessarily even like feign appreciation outside of like the sexual element. It's like they get like post nut clarity, and then it's like you're not a real person anymore.
So you're just talking about like fuck boys that like trans women.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a fuck
So you
boy.
said- I guess so, yeah.
This is a
When you
fuck
look at
boy.
it that
They
way.
suck. They do suck, but it doesn't. I don't see it as
Okay.
particular.
But the thing about it though is like, just it's annoying, and like obviously,
Yeah.
like when you first transition, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like happy for any degree of attention, but that's never been an issue for me. Like, not to be a
Well,
fucking
depends if you just want to
whatever,
fuck
but
or if you
like,
want a long-term relationship. If you just want to fuck, then maybe a fuck boy's the right guy for you. But you know,
well, no, but you can like going back to what I said regarding like being kind of like, you know, more on the demi side of things. It's kind of like a big fucking deal breaker.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Because it's like, okay, obviously I don't want to date somebody who's just like gonna try and like,
Okay,
you
and now
know,
I
like,
get it.
it's
Okay.
effectively like molest me all the time.
I
Like,
don't.
that's
I don't like
gross.
calling it a chaser, but no, but because that doesn't make sense to me. But I actually kind of just had an epiphany. Like I totally get. Trans people are going to have, especially trans women, are going to have a massive, a lot more people are going to be into them for purely sexual reasons compared to they're gonna find it harder to find people that want a serious relationship compared to people that want to just fuck. So that makes a lot of sense. But I don't think
Somebody
that's
said something to me yesterday too. Yeah.
I it's just shallow people that just want to fuck though. I don't see it as like
Okay, it's women too though sometimes, like it is, because like, have you ever met a woman with like a gay boy fetish?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
See, it's not even that uncommon, right? And so, I mean, I don't know how many women will admit it to you. I know I've had a couple.
Oh, I love women with gay boy fetishes. Oh,
Hey,
that's a
but
sign to me that she is in touch with her sexuality because much like most men are like, oh yeah, I want to see two women, you know, I want to watch lesbians. Like a woman that wants to see like men fuck each other, that
yeah,
means she's really in touch with her
you're
attraction to
afraid.
men, and that's a green flag for me. And especially with my history of being a femboy, I dated so many women that were like that, and women that were really dated and like hooked up with and women that were thought they were lesbians but they weren't. Oh, I'm not. I don't. I thought I was a lesbian until I met you. A lot of them just hated men and they wanted like a femboy. They wanted like a more meek, or you know, like I was pretty skinny. You know, they wanted a non-man man. And I imagine those same women would be into a trans woman for the same reasons, because they want a non-man man. So yeah,
Yeah, so there's like
it's not
oftentimes, well, I'll have conversations with women, and it's like, you know, because there's like a degree of like, what's it called? Like, for me, like I can see when people are flustered, right? And so their motivations or their energy when they're flustered or whatever, like you pick up on it. And so women are more inclined to like act that way around me. And it like it happens where and even some awkward situations
why do
actually,
you not
like,
like that they like you though?
because it's uncomfortable and it sets expectations for our interaction.
I like it when I can tell that people are turned on by me.
It's not even that necessarily thing. Like, okay, so um like there's, to some degree, it feels objectifying because you're not even necessarily sure you're being taken seriously, or you're being like not fetishized, but you're being like, you know, like, are you kind of just want to chill sort of thing. I don't know. Like, okay, there's another okay, there's two kinds of this, okay? There's two kinds. Like, there's like people who see you and you don't resonate to them as a woman at all. They just see you as a really gay man. So they get that bestie energy around you. That's cringe and annoying, right? That's one. And so
Did,
that
what
is an actual genuine attraction. It's like, I want to make out with a guy I'm comfortable with. Sure. The second one is kind of more of, like I said, the flustered energy, where it becomes like, yeah, like, okay, this is flattering to some degree, but it's like they're not really taking you seriously at the same time. Anyways, it makes me uncomfortable. It's not that I dislike it all the time, but if it's not a mutual feeling and in a very platonic one-to-one conversation with somebody, I've never met them before, whatever, it's going to be, right? Because that obviously takes a while to like boil, to a point where I'm like, oh, that person's fucking cool. Like, yeah, it is kind of weird sometimes. I don't know. And I like okay, I shouldn't fucking say this because it's not my current like I have been in like serious conversations with women before and have felt
Ooh.
that energy from them. No, it's not.
Okay.
That's like the worst time. Don't you think? Don't you think like if you're in like a crisis or
A
something and like you're in a
crisis.
shitty time?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
I've been okay.
like
So I've been at okay. So I recently, like the past couple weeks, was in a serious conversation with um a younger woman. I'm 30. She's like 25. At work, she is my superior at work, and I could tell, like, and she was telling me what like I had to do, and then she like lingered a bit like too long, and then I was like, I don't want your fucking candy. She like offered me like this candy. I was like, you guys are gonna me die. And then she was like, she loved it. She liked that I was being, so. And then I could tell, like, and I was like, if you didn't have a boyfriend, like I continue this line and it would get like very like flirtatious. But you have a boyfriend, so I'll just cool it. But I could tell that was there, and it's flattering. I like it.
okay, sure, there's like, okay, I won't say like there's a degree of validation there for sure. Um, but the one thing like I think that is like I said, okay, and this is like okay, so this is an issue I have with this like counseling and therapy. Um, like I'm a very verbose person. I for the most part don't have an issue articulating my thoughts. I can be insightful and whatever, even towards my own self. Obviously, I have moments where I'm not insightful whatsoever and I get very narrow-minded, and that's fine. But like when it comes to what is it, like sapiosexuality, like that's something I think that happens a lot where you like genuinely like have you ever like okay,
Sapio. What is that?
sapiosexuality is like, okay, so when you're attracted to intelligence, almost, so like,
Oh,
so when somebody like tickles your whatever, you're like, ooh. And so I felt that too. Like
I
I
felt
feel like
that.
if I can I feel like there's been times where like, like the demisexual element exists, but where like I've had like debates with someone and then, after like not on the internet, mind you, but like in person, where like there's a lot of fighting and contention, it's contentious energy. And then when that leaves, it's like, okay, now there's just like weird tension. So it's weird, but like it's the sapiosexual element of having like, serious conversations with people and being someone like me is difficult at times because it's like you're not trying to like entice someone, you're just trying to communicate yourself. And so like if the person is going ooh like wow, this person is so insightful, it's like
But it just
that's
means,
great, but
but that just means you're not connecting in the way that you want to be connecting with people.
I mean, it's not every single time I interact. There's people that don't take me seriously at all, right? And that's what I would prefer. But I'm just saying, like, in the moment where you're like looking for guidance or you're looking for advice, I find it very difficult to find somebody who's actually equipped to do that and somebody who's not going to Google at me when I'm doing it, when I'm communicating.
Okay.
It's
I'm having
a
trouble.
weird.
I believe you, especially because I'm having trouble like picturing. I'm having trouble empathizing. It's just because I can't I don't know exactly what you mean, but I believe you.
It's really just kind of like, okay, so like I say something and you're like, oh wow, that's really insightful, I haven't thought about it before, and I can tell what kind of person you are immediately because number one, you're going to engage with what I said, right? Because to be honest, being intelligent and being articulate
So does that mean
isn't
that
a
you're turned on by me right now?
What I'm saying, Smith.
Okay, I actually
Okay.
had that thought, so I had to fucking get. Okay, it's better.
No, I think
Especially it's
no. To be clear, I think you're an attractive person, but I wouldn't say that I am.
okay.
Okay. But
Well, you were
so
quick to make a distinction that it's not online, and so I was like, wait, are you talking? Are you saying?
because I think that I would have signaled that to you in that moment in the accident. So yeah, it was kind of a little what do you want to call it? Like I probably should have just let it simmer and said it anyways because I feel like, there I don't it doesn't particularly bother me if you think that. So it's,
Whatever.
not for any
It
particular
doesn't
reason.
bother
I'm just
me. It
saying.
doesn't bother me if you're attracted to me, but
I
it
think you're an
does.
objectively attractive person, Smith. That's what I'm saying.
But it's not going to be. I currently have a girlfriend, and
That's not okay. Sorry,
I'm
if we could
not.
go back, Smith. That's. Let's be really clear about something. I think that I'm comfortable in like, making this objective statement. And we were talking about the sapiosexual element, or like I made the caveat because I had said, there's been moments where I've gotten into like really contentious arguments with people and then like had them like dissipate for like whatever optical considerations. Like, okay, we're arguing a lot right now. Maybe we should chill this energy, and like having the awkward energy after the fact and then being like, oh fuck. Like what is this energy? So, but when I said that to you, I didn't really occur to me what we were doing right now.
Yeah.
So I figured like, okay, I probably am signaling that to him, and that wasn't my intention to.
So that you
But if
did. So you did actually try to counter signal on purpose, but it wasn't
yeah, yeah,
because you realized
yeah.
you. Yeah, it was because you realized you had to. You had to. Okay, I believe you.
But
It
then
doesn't matter.
but in the counter signal, like I had no point, like I have no problem just conceding that because I see that as to like objective truth. And obviously I
Well,
respect your
thank you.
relationship as well. Yeah. Okay. So going back to what I was originally saying though, is like, okay, so I will communicate and articulate something to someone, right? And so you can tell because someone will be like, oh wow, like I've never thought of it that way. Or then there's a person that'll actually engage with what you say. And so sometimes it's like a lot to be around the person who just goes ooh or wow, like listening to you talk because you want that person to actually engage. And so like
Yeah,
I
but
don't set that
I
expectation for
have that
every conversation I
experience.
have, but
I have that experience. I hate that too, and I tried really hard not to do that too. It's almost dismissive. It's like you know, I don't want to just like so say that you tell me like you just like you got sick, that like you got COVID. Let's if
Mhm,
you just message me and say that you got COVID, this is what's gonna go through my mind because we're not very close. But
yeah,
I don't not care about you or anything. And so if you were to message me and be like, "Hey, I got COVID," I would be like, "How do I respond?" Um, but the fact that you're saying I got COVID, I feel like you probably wouldn't die. So I wouldn't assume it would be like you're in immortal danger, but it would suck. And so I'd probably be like, "Oh, that sounds bad." But that sounds bad or that's bad or whatever, it's like that's not caring, like that's kind of dismissive. I'm just trying to get you off of my back, but I don't want to do that to you. So then I have this
mhm,
internal struggle where I'm like, okay, how do I, you know, because I'm not that intimate with you, right? So how do I, try to give you some warmth for something that sucks that you're telling me about and not be
mhm,
dismissive without, you know, and then I wonder, but do I have to do that? And am I doing myself a disservice by always trying to do that for people? You know? But I don't want to just be the guy that just says that sucks all the time.
mhm. Well, it's like you have an emotional battery where like you can force yourself to care, but you only have so much. And when you recognize that you need it for other areas in your life, yeah, it can be difficult to do that. I think that there are some cop-out ways that you can, avoid those circumstances or whatever. But yeah, I generally think it's like more of a fault in my life where like I'm more inclined to like isolate myself because I can put somebody in my position. Like, okay, so like so when I don't feel good about myself, like I feel like kind of like a rain cloud, okay? And I don't want to rain on other people, right? But more so than that is like I'm gonna say, hey Smeth, my fucking cat just got ran over by a vehicle, and now I recognize that I'm putting the burden on you to say something back to me. And so
Cat
because I
getting
have
run
enough,
over is a big one. If you
it
came,
is right.
if
No,
you
it
came to me
is.
and
It
said
is.
that,
It
I'd
is.
be like, whoa, what I'm doing, I might need to stop for a second and give you a moment. You know, that's a big one.
Totally, totally. No, I don't know if I could even necessarily expect that from you. But what I'm saying is like, let's say you're somebody I know really well. Even so, like, you know, it wouldn't be you expending a lot of energy to like convey a degree of sympathy towards me, right? But I would still feel like you would. So I would be more inclined to just isolate rather than to just like just be like, to visit or talk to somebody when that sort of thing happens. I don't remember what the relevance is here, but
Okay.
yeah, anyways, I don't know where I
So,
said
like,
this,
you
but
got COVID, you got your cat run over. Like, how are you feeling?
right,
What
because
are you gonna
because
do? Like,
yes, because I'm putting myself in your shoes, almost like to say what you're gonna say is like we recognize that you can't convey sympathy to every single person because it's exhausting. It really is. And when you're empathetic towards somebody, that's more exhausting. So what I'm saying is like I understand the expectation that I put on people when I feel like shit and I want to tell them about it. So rather than act on that, I just isolate myself and I don't say anything. Because I don't like that.
that's
Like I
not
don't like to
good.
put that
Well,
expectation on
that
people.
seems like an
Well,
extreme in the other direction.
that's true, but then I also like so the like that's true, and I don't think like in a vacuum like yeah this is not a healthy way to deal with things. But I also like I go to therapy like twice a month
Well,
or
then
two to
you
three
can
times a
rely
month or
on your
whatever.
therapist. That's too. It's good to
So
have a
so the
therapist.
thing about it is like I don't want my friends to be my therapist. And because
Oh
when
yeah.
I have the energy to interact socially, I just want to make the most out of it. I don't want to sit here talking about why my life sucks.
I I I just I sort of come out of the same place, but I just don't ever really think about, or I feel lucky that I don't think about how much of a burden I'm being to people.
Okay.
And I think the fact that you're thinking about it is unhealthy, but it doesn't mean that your behavior's unhealthy.
No, no, no. It's really just about, like I said, and this is coming from having done the opposite in my life, right? So, recognizing that like my friends are getting more and more distant. Like I have a very turbulent existence within my own context, right? I'm not saying I'm very fortunate, very privileged in a lot of different ways, right? I'm not gonna, I'll be honest about that. But aside from that, like I've had experiences in my life where not as a consequence of those things. Like compared to people I know, I'm fucking not very privileged, which is whatever, right? But in context, that doesn't matter. So regardless, like I've been the person who is like, looked for every physical time like I'm with a friend. It's like I have to tell them about all the shitty things that are going on in my life. And I recognize the strain that's put on my friendships over like the last couple of years. Like I'm 29, I'm turning 30 in August. I actually thought you were younger than me for some reason. I don't know why, but not because I don't know why I had that idea,
I thought you
but
were younger
uh,
than 29.
that's cool. Well, I'm fucking old as shit. But yeah, so do you kind of see where it's like, yeah, maybe I'm overcorrecting, right? But it's not like that energy is, it's not like it's bottled up and it's not going anywhere. It's going to like a professional.
Yeah. I almost feel like I want, like, with an intimate partner, if they don't tell me about something that's really big that's going on, I'm like, what's going on? Why aren't you telling?
So would that make you feel bad?
Maybe, maybe not. Depends on why they're not telling me. Maybe because they can handle it and they don't need it and it's just no problem. Or maybe it's because they feel like a burden to me. Or maybe it's because they feel like they're like, whatever thing it might be, it could be really complex. So there's a lot of reasons that could be, and one of them is fine.
What if they're laboring over someone they killed the other day and they're like, shit, I really like my relationship with Smeth right now. But when somebody finds out, like, I'm going to jail. but you don't know that, so you're like, honey, what's wrong? And then he tell you that, and then you're like, oh
Like,
fuck,
well,
this is the most
that's gonna
burdensome.
be a pretty complex situation.
I just don't answer that. Yeah.
It's gonna be like, I think I'd rather know that I'm dating a murderer. Yeah. That doesn't mean I'm.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, but yes, you find out on Friday, right? And the murder happened on Monday. So they happens on Friday, and you're like, oh well, at least I had 4 more days of like a healthy relationship before I realized my
I would
entire life is
probably
wrong.
just
You know what I
be
mean?
really nice and supportive, and then get a plane ticket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
There would definitely be some boundary setting in that conversation.
Yeah,
I
like
feel
a
like,
couple 100 miles of boundaries, you know.
yeah, definitely create some distance for sure. Locking key. No, yeah, no, that's obviously like a really extreme example, but I mean, everyone thinks like I'm happy to like, I don't know whether it's like if it's an awareness thing necessarily, but like not feeling burdensome in the way that you communicate to people, I think it's more beneficial long term
And
because yeah, like there could be a
you
time where I'm not,
you feel
where I don't have
burdensome.
access to.
You feel burdensome also because you're trans.
No, I think
No?
me being trans is like one of very low on the list.
Okay. I said that
Yeah.
because earlier you were talking about feeling like you have to do a lot on your part because you feel like you're going into a hate crime every time you go into a social interaction. So you feel like you have to do a lot to control what you're doing so that you protect yourself from that.
So let me word it differently. Then this will help you kind of narrow down what I meant. So, what I could say, right? Like I'm like, oh, I'm going on this call with Smeth. I expect Smeth to ask me what my pronouns are. I expect Smeth to, address me by this, address me in this typically, chivalrous kind of way. And like, I don't want Smeth to say bro or dude or man to me in this conversation, right? And if Smeth does one of these things, then I'm going to let it like carry the way I perceive Smeth into the future. Like I'm gonna possibly think, oh, Smeth's not a really good guy, or like
Well,
Smeth doesn't care about me being as a trans person, right?
that's totally
But I'm doing the
oh my
exact opposite. I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm saying I'm going to this conversation with Smeth where I could potentially get hate crime, but I'm a rational person and I know that
Is
Smeth
really
doesn't
me
actually.
saying dude or bro a hate crime?
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
Okay.
saying like I take it the exact opposite, maybe a little too far in saying that in my personal interactions, if I'm going to meet someone when I leave the house, I think to myself, yeah, this is a possibility that could happen. But I'm rational enough to be like, okay, but here's the evidence that I have to believe that that's not going to happen. So that's my expectation for everyone I talk to. It's like I expect this person to treat me like shit, to not regard me as like a human or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's like, not that I'm happy when you're not that way because I'm rational. Obviously, I have a higher standard for the way that I interact with people. Otherwise, I would just talk to anyone, which I don't. But do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
I do
that's
think
where the
that
burden
means
becomes mine, not yours.
I do think that you feel like a burden then.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of like just like, yeah, I think there are some behaviors that I have that are burdensome. And a lot of that is like, yeah, like not being like people aren't equipped to communicate or walk me through issues that I'm having. Even therapists, they're
Well, true.
not.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's just a
Because I
fact.
can Well, because I'll come to the conclusion it's faster than you will, or not like you specifically, but my therapist. It's like, I'm having difficulties with this. I don't feel like it's for this reason. I thought about it maybe being this reason, but actually I'm, maybe curious to know if it's this reason. And so like I've done all the work for her. Like there's, the cognitive CBT or whatever, or the DBT, right? Like dialectical behavioral therapy. Are you familiar?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
just essentially believing that two things can be true at once, right? From a mental health perspective. And so like that's what I'm doing when I say like, yeah, the very worst thing, something could be, I could get hate crime, but also Smeths might be like a good person and we can have like a really good conversation. And then what does the evidence suggest? It suggests that like I'm probably not going to get hate crime. But the CBT element of having a conversation with like a counselor or a therapist is like they need to take me outside of my narrative, right? But my narrative is so beautifully constructed that while they're conceptualizing it, I've already run to every single fucking particular option.
I
So
do.
they just end up sitting
I
there
agree
like
that your
mouth agape.
narrative is beautifully constructed, but I also
Thank
think,
you.
yeah, but I also, and there's a lot of skills that gives you and tools mentally, but I think it can have a downside. Um, Something that I'm emotionally uh, really feeling a lot, especially lately, it's that I think that we are all less able to perceive ourselves than we are other people because we're so biased in ourselves. And like, it feels like to me that it's not that I can't understand myself. It feels like it's just so complicated. But when I see other people, it's so much less complicated. And now like, am I just oversimplifying? No, it's actually that I'm overcomplicating it when it's me. And
Mhm.
I have so many blind spots with myself, and I feel like everyone else all has blind spots with themselves. So that only responded that they're like, that's whatever you. So yeah, whatever.
No, I get that because, like, so for me, the specific blind spot for me is that I lose my self-awareness when I'm emotionally charged, right? So it's not enough, like, I can do and say and, like, tell you how I might act or how I might respond to a particular, like, thing. But until I'm emotionally charged, you know, I won't have enough awareness to, like, really suss that out unless I'm like watching a video of myself back, right? So, in the same sense, like this has been a criticism that I've received in my life before. It's like I'm somebody that can like flow in and out of like, some really just like mind blowing like awareness to like none at all, to the point where it's like you're just like two different people. That's something that that's what I've been
BPD.
told. Yeah, that's what I've been told at times. Totally. But I mean, at the same time, like, um, there is like I get by, I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not like an angry borderline. I'm like one of the self-loathing ones that just like goes and crawls in fucking bed because I don't want to make it anyone else's issue. That's how
Yeah,
I
yeah,
yeah.
and highly intellectual. You fit that. Yeah, and that's probably um yeah, it's not such a bad way to be. I mean, because you got a lot to work from. Like that, like there is so much, like to be honest, if you actually are like that specific, like pathology borderline thing, like that is um especially like being 29, like the statistics all say good things about your future. So
Yeah, remission and stuff. I think your mind just essentially gets too tired to walk through every
is
narrative
that what it is?
situation. Yeah, it actually is. It is so funny. It's like the same sort of confidence that you get when you're like, like right now, like we make I
It's
mean
not that.
you're
Okay, I
but like
respect that, but
I'll make aesthetic considerations about myself, all right? And then when I'm older, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I fucking cared about that. Like it's almost like that.
yeah,
Almost.
I have my own theory about this. I think that as we age, because cognitive decline, doesn't actually happen until you're 60. Um, you can get dumber for different reasons, but your brain doesn't start to actually become crazy and dumb until you're 60. I think that as we age, ever notice that right before you catch a cold, you feel like a bit like the day before you know that you're sick, you feel like euphoric and you feel like a little bit extra confident. You ever feel that?
Maybe the day after I'm not sick.
That too. Both of them.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Both of those, but
Okay.
these are both like observed like things. Like you will have this like rush before. Um, Another thing, like right before you start getting the symptoms, you'll be more hungry, And anyway, I think that, especially knowing that, also knowing that when you deprive yourself of sleep, your brain, the effect that you get in your brain is like being drunk, because the chemicals that your brain is making, like by like decomposing a little bit from over not sleeping, make you drunk, basically. You're high off your own brain shit. And I think that as you age and your body is like a little bit shittier, it makes you a bit more euphoric. And it like, I think
Yeah.
it's just like a mechanism that humans have so that we feel better as we get older, so that it's like feels less shitty.
Yeah, I have a theory for this too. I think that's interesting though.
What is
Because
it?
okay, so it's more like Dunning-Kruger. So like humans are fearful by nature, right? And so I think that as we get older, we mistakenly regard our experience as like more valuable than it really is. Like it's really anecdotal, right? In the same way you wouldn't just take somebody's word and apply it as like a valid argument in a debate. It's like even more of a reason to not do that in everyday life. But for some reason, we continually do things like, oh yeah, we did this that one time and it was a shitty outcome. Therefore, I will never do that again. So the older we get, we are less inclined to try new things, and we kind of go back to old faithful. Like I did this once and I didn't like it. And so it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse because of more how fearful we are about life. And so when we think we're being confident, we're not being confident. We're actually just, you know, like I said, we're just positioning ourselves in things that have worked in the past. And it's very binary if you really consider it.
I
Like
think
it's
that's
just not.
possible. I think that's definitely the case for some people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that the older we get, if you get more confident, the older you get, that's where you should be like, well, shit, like what's going, like, where are my
Yeah.
blind spots
Yeah,
almost? Because
I do value, I value the turbulence that a teenager feels, because that, especially being an artist, I feel like along with what you're saying with that confidence, it comes with like being more repressed, and you're fixating on this one thing. This works, and you're putting on blinders to anything else, and you're trying to like, try to, you're so afraid that you only want to look at this one thing, and you're just so avoidant of all these other things. And like a teenager, like emo teenager, just screaming like "fuck you, dad," like that. If you want to be an artist, you can't lose that. So yeah.
no, it's true. But the stability that we like, that false sense of security that we create for ourselves isn't useless either,
Sure.
because that's the perception that people get from like, so teenagers in a developmental sense, they actually are, this is when they've gotten all the developmental skills to like a point where they like, okay, they know how to walk, they know how to talk, they know how to think critically for some point, and now they're putting it all together for the first time and being like starting to see the world for what it really is. And it's scary. Like there's a lot of things going on. So like people being like having that over sense of security, like parents most of the time, because who doesn't like look to the parent and be like, what, you're a fucking idiot, like you don't see the whole issue, right? But that sense of like confidence that they have is like actually what you need as a teenager, because you're not capable of creating that for yourself. You don't have enough experience. So it isn't useless. It's not like a complete shitty blind spot that we whatever employ as like a bit of a cope. It is something that we just like need in society at the same time.
Maybe.
Yeah, even from our leadership.
I'm the DPT. I think that both of these are true.
Have you dated a lot of women that are borderline, or are you borderline?
Probably.
Like yeah. So like, what is your understanding of the condition?
Of
Because you seemed
borderline?
like pretty, yeah, because you seem pretty quick
I've
to
done
like.
some deep dives into, well, first of all, yes, but I've done some deep dives into personality disorders, and I'm very interested in personality disorders.
What would you say is like the biggest red flag? Like what, like when you see somebody that's like BPD, like what do you feel like is the biggest Like, how
I don't
can
know.
you
I see
tell?
people as individuals even if they have BPD.
Me too, me too. But
BPD like is like a after. Like if you tell me your BPD is the first thing you say about yourself, I'm like that doesn't tell me much. Like that'll tell me a lot after I've known you for a week, you know, and then it's like okay, I can contextualize certain things, but like off the bat, it doesn't really. It's could be. I mean, one thing to watch out with someone with BPD is like don't they're gonna like often not always, but they'll use their body and their sex early on in a relationship, and not to like if you tell me you're BPD, then I might like be like, well, I'm not gonna let you do that first. We'll take it extra slow. So you don't feel like you have to leverage your body to gain security in the relationship.
interesting. Yeah.
There's I don't know. There's a lot of parts of BPD that are just inability to feel safe, and in me doing that, that might freak out the BPD person.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think dating somebody with BPD is going to be the case. And honestly, BPD is like a made up thing, but the description of the behavior set, like
Emotional dysregulation disorder is generally what is a more functional. That's
yeah,
what people say. Yeah,
but
it's more of a functional word than BPD is really.
I think the thing that a lot of people with BPD need is also going to freak them out.
Like what?
Like space, like for it, like a BPD person might really feel like they need you to use their body to feel like they are valuable or worth something in the relationship, or and they need to not feel that way, but to not validate that is very scary. And then they feel like you are, they have this fear of being rejected or abandonment
Yeah.
anxiety. So
And it's not even that it's crazy too because the abandonment part is it gets really meta sometimes. Because like I could say like, oh yeah, I can handle a breakup. That would suck. Obviously I didn't like that and I would do things to prevent that from happening. But actually though, like the more the person is able to intellectualize it, the deeper and the harder it is to understand, but it always does come back to some form of rejection or abandonment.
yeah, but that's not
It's
too
hard to,
uncommon.
yeah.
It's not too uncommon of a thing. Like I think that BPD, we're all BPD sometimes. I think some people like there's healthy narcissism. I don't know if there's like BPD is like weird. It's weird to say there's healthy BPD because BPD is such a clusterfuck of different things. But it's just this that if you are like pathologically BPD, it means that you are in a cycle, you know, that is a cycle we all have to sometimes. But if you're BPD, it might be because it's like your brain is wired to always be doing that. But I do
It's
think
hard for us to return to
anybody can
baseline.
relate. Anybody can relate to those things, I
It's
think.
true, yeah. In isolated examples for sure. Like if people with BPD explained their like certs like symptoms and you had no idea, you'd be like, "Oh, that happens to me."
Mhm.
And like because you can't actually you can't actually measure the degree of suffering through anyone's emotional state other than they're like unless they're on their like, unless they're on the fucking edge, right? Then yeah, it's kind of like it's difficult, but I think with BPD it's generally just like as cringe as it sounds, like trying to looking for a sense of belonging. And it can be difficult to like not get into some easy traps. Like a lot of people with BPD are like very sentimental or like they attribute value to things that are like not necessarily very like rational. I don't know. I think with my experience, like I growing up, I was like the angry type. So I wasn't to say that I haven't like I grew up very like angsty and angry and like had a problem with like authority, but I grew out of it and which is like very great because obviously like I wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case. But I also had like four brothers, so it's hard to like imagine which parts of like that anger isn't warranted because it's like I mean, there's like fucking 4 or 5 of us, right? And like it's I don't know, like yeah, there's a lot, and there's a lot of us and not a lot to go around. So it's kind of like
Yeah,
obviously
that
there's
makes
gonna be some
sense.
friction.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So
Do you want to hear something I wrote early? I think like last night.
yeah, sure. Can I go to the bathroom first? Because I just been sitting here drinking water.
Sure,
I have
you'll
to
be able to
like
hear
all the
me while I do it, right?
yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Um. All right. Toenail. I don't trim my nails. I slice into them with another nail and peel them to the correct length. It's an art that I've nearly perfected. Once in a while, an uncooperative toenail gives me the strangest feeling. If I'm unable to slice it or make any progress, I become frustrated to the point of headaches and nausea. I've decided that this lifeless material attached to my foot no longer belongs, but I feel powerless to remove it from my body. It's like a horrible tumor. I don't care if I hurt myself. It needs to be terminated. As my fingernails become more dented and ineffective, my patience wears thinner and thinner. I have to move on. I need to pay attention to something else. Anything else. Fuck.
Would you regard that as like a poem? It seemed like it was a poem.
Kinda.
Do you journal a lot?
Oh yeah, I do journal a lot.
When you journal, do you feel like you do it in a poetic way, or is that
That
like
was meant to be poetic, yeah.
it was? No, it was. I'm curious because I didn't know if I was interpreting it right or not. I do like I have done poems at times, but I've only done them when I'm at like my absolute worst, so they're like really dramatic.
I've
And
taken
so
I've taken probably like through my years in college class, I've taken probably like 6 different poetry workshop classes. I've done a lot of poetry writing and lessons.
okay, I'll read one of mine to you, and you can tell me if it's shit. Okay,
Okay,
let me find. Okay, give me a second. I'll find it. But yeah, do you have another one you want to read?
not really.
No. What do you like? When are you the most inclined to like write
I don't
one?
know.
Like, do you feel like it just happens? Because you seem like you're kind of a creative type, right?
Yeah, I just do it a lot. That one, I was like, that particular that toenail feeling is such a weird, fucking horrible feeling, and I think it just feels the fact that I'm even feeling that is just so fucked up. It's like it's such a strong feeling for just fucking grooming my toenails. I think it has to do with me aging because my nails are becoming more brittle, and it's like this isn't fucking working, and just something in my brain snaps in that moment, and I just like, you know what? I should write about that feeling. Maybe other people can relate to that.
The hangnail.
It's not the
That's it.
hangnail. It's just like to like trim my nails. I just like I take one nail and I go like I go into it so that I slice the nail, often the thumbnail because
Yeah.
it's the most strong, and then I slice it and then I pull it back like with like care, and then I get it all the way across and to the right length and without a
But is it?
clipper.
But is it symbolic of like aging? Is that what you're
Because
kind
your
of getting
nails
into?
become more brittle, and
Okay.
so the frustration it never had it's only like it's probably happened like 5 times to me now, and I don't know how many times, but it seems to be increasing, and it's like I think it's because my toenails are more brittle and I can't do it anymore, and it's just such a frustrating thing. I need to get fucking clippers. I need to never do that again. I need to get clippers.
Yeah, I think you do. Because like I don't know if you've like yeah, I think you definitely do. I mean, do you ever buff them or whatever?
Have I ever
Like
what?
that's what are they called? Like a nail file, but like I have like a block one that I have somewhere that I just kind of like when I'm chilling, watching a video or whatever, I'll
Um,
just like sit there and buff my nails. No,
no.
I mean it's I don't know. It like helps I think like preventing that sort of thing. Like I guess, but yeah, I mean nails are. I mean, I think with like hormone treatments, they actually strengthen your nail and like make them grow more. So I can't necessarily relate, but yeah, it's a weird side effect. You should take like biotin.
I'm
Makes
fine.
your
I just can keep my nails.
makes yeah, maybe do that. Makes your hair like I think grow, I'm pretty sure. Not your hair, but it's like for nail and hair growth, I think is like why a lot of people like
I
recommend it
have
for women
my
and stuff.
hair and nails grow very fast.
Really?
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to find this fucking thing.
And,
My like
and then
okay, so like
after your poem, then we can probably wrap it up because I'm getting tired.
yeah, no problem. I think like yeah, my like I feel like when I've been at my absolute worst, I definitely write poetry, and then I'll be like, oh, this is cool. Why don't I do it? And then like if I'm just having a regular day or I'm just chilling, like they're just trash. Like they don't, like it's so funny that I
Okay,
have
wait,
to be
hold on.
like,
Okay, someone in the chat said, please take care of your nails. Your partners will appreciate you. Okay, I do. I keep them like a good length and everything. Especially if I'm like, yeah, but I'm saying that the act of like the way that I trim my nails sometimes isn't working on my toenails because they're getting more hard and brittle, and I can't just slice it and trim it with my bare hand anymore, and it makes me so upset.
fucking aging.
It's not that I think about it as aging. It just makes me like, what's? It's just like
No,
I'm
but
bashing my head against a wall because it literally is not working. And yeah,
fair enough. Do you work like a full-time job kind of thing?
I have a part-time job.
Nice, nice. I'm thinking of getting a part-time job pretty soon here. What should I do?
I don't know.
I'm thinking maybe like be an astronaut or something. Go into space. I don't think I'm that smart. I'm like thinking of actually just kind of like I'd like to be like a barista again. I was like a barista a couple years ago. It's pretty chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Just a couple of shifts a week or whatever type shit. All right,
Drug
Smith. I
dealer.
can't find
This
this.
is just a
I can't find this
glorified drug
fucking
dealer.
poem. The glorified drug dealer. Oh, actually, I know what it is. Give me 1 second. If I can't find it in a minute, then I'm just gonna call it because I don't know what the fuck.
Is it really dark?
No, 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 no. It's just like
I'm gonna
it's
give you
not
backing music for it. Okay.
do that.
Okay.
Oh my god, the one I have is so short. It's so funny.
Okay. You ready?
Okay.
3, 2,
It's like 10 words, dude.
go.
Okay, this one, what did you call this? Like a haiku, maybe? Not even. Okay, it says, frayed stitching, a patchwork of experiences locale to me, empowered by you, embodied by you. And I think what I meant by that, like frayed stitching, a patchwork of experiences local to me, empowered by you, embodied by you. I think I kind of just went speaking, like, tell me what you think I mean, and then I'm pretty sure it's not that deep, but
Frayed stitching. A what?
frayed stitching, a patchwork of experiences local to me. Yeah.
And
And then the other,
embodied by you.
empowered by you,
And
embodied
empowered
by you.
by you.
Embodied by you.
I think it means that you're trans.
Yeah, no, I think like basically I think I'm just like alluding to like just I don't think it was like a particular experience or like a particular person, but just like, just like shitty memories with people. You know what I mean? Like, does that kind of make sense? So like let's say like hypothetically, and this isn't necessarily the case, but just like you've had somebody in your life that's been like very harmful, and so it's like like a patchwork of memories, like frayed stitching, because
Yeah.
it's like they're stitched together harmfully, and then it's like, like I deal with it, but like you perpetuate it, so it's like like some sort of like there's no shared burden there. It's kind of just like I deal with it, not you, type energy. But yeah. That's the only one I could find. I used to write like the really weird like stories and stuff and then just like rhyme my way through them. That was fun. I like doing that stuff.
In my Discord server, I have a channel that only I can write in called Smeth's Diary. And I got shit in here like Christopher Walking meets Stephen Hawkins. Clown door is all we have left. I have like kinky submissive men should be seen as a protected class because of how much they're exploited and taken advantage of. Shabby Shannon gonna get some money from the government. I kind of wish I could get my way by letting women feel me up. Meth isn't cool. My drug of choice is math. That one's
So
good.
these are your tweets.
Yeah, but like it's like
This is the chopping floor, the cutting floor.
Twitter doesn't appreciate true. You just have to be mean on Twitter, and like so. My favorite one here is because when you read it, when you read it to yourself in your head, it sounds like it's something awful, but it just says no pussy, comma, forgot. But like when you hear that, when you look at it, you think of a different word and then forgot. It's like no pussy, forgot.
Sometimes I think like just not necessarily what the word means or it sounds like, but the combination of the words in a sentence, like there's an aesthetic appeal to it. Yeah, like even in a haiku setting where it's like, okay, the words actually don't mean that much, but like the way they're written means just as much. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
It was a pretty cool conversation. I don't know how long we were talking, but
yeah.
I feel like we touched a lot of different topics. So no, I really appreciate you taking the time today. I think this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, good talk, good stream. All right. Goodbye.
Thanks for the chat, Smeth. I'll talk to you later.
Talk
Bye.
to you later. And yeah, I've been meaning to tell you. I think it's over between us. Chat. I think this is the most that I can handle, and I've met my limit. I'm gonna stop the stream. And I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I wanna do. And it's none of your fucking business, because I'm not gonna be streaming it. And I don't care what you do. I've been wanting to tell you this for a long time. It feels good. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I think about you. I'm sick of all your fucking sick bullshit. You always come to me, fucking dumping all your shit on my door. The door's closing. I'll talk to you the next time I stream. Until then, have a great night. And in the morning, don't forget to take your daily dose of methamphetamine. Have a good night.